Nonetheless, Geno talked about Caitlin Clark again and sort of gave some backhanded compliments, like he talked about how she connects to the audience, which was good. He talked about how she's tougher like Paige Beck as he threw Paige in their ear as well. Geno Auriemma, the UConn coaching giant, goes nuts after Caitlin Clark rejected him, and it cost him millions. He once dismissed Caitlin Clark, claiming she didn't have the right skill set for the WNBA now. As she turns Iowa into a basketball empire, Geno is left wondering how he didn't just miss out on a player. He missed a chance to be part of history, and that's a wow. No trophy can heal. She talks a lot of on the court, all right, believe me, you know when people talk about in WNBA, why are these people beating up Kate and La? Because she talks a lot of on the court instead of owning up. Geno doubled down on a podcast, tossing Clark a few half-hearted compliments while undermining her with cheap digs. It's the kind of ego-driven move that reminds us even legends can fall to going out of his way to first. Is like saying she connects to people, and he could have left it at that, I guess, but he almost goes on to put the reverse some of that discourse, try to put it in others' laps because of Caitlin Clark's trash talk. Meanwhile, Clark is living rent-free in Geno's head while rewriting history, all without UConn or Geno's approval. The real kicker, Geno didn't just lose a player, he lost millions in revenue, reputation, and respect. Poor soul, this kid, she's fearless. She just plays. She just is like a little kid, and you know her in a driveway playing with her friends or so. Yeah, she's unique in that way, but in terms of what she's doing, people have short him. Yeah, I've seen it before. But Auriemma didn't stop there. He delved into what makes Clark truly stand out in today's basketball.
She just plays. She just is like a little kid in a driveway playing with her friends. So yeah, she's unique in that way, but in terms of what she's doing, people have
ball landscape, her fearlessness. He explained that in this era, many players hesitate. They worry about the consequences of a missed shot or a bad decision. Social media scrutiny, blame games, and relentless criticism have turned many athletes cautious, afraid to take risks that might cost their team or tarnish their reputation. Still, while Auriemma acknowledged her unique mindset and undeniable skill, he also grounded the discussion. People have short memories, he said with a knowing tone. He was about to anoint Clark as the most exceptional player ever after all his witnessed greatness before, often from the best seat in the house, the sidelines of his own team. Here is the beginning of the conversation, the women's game. So if I think sometimes people get confused over the last 18 months, maybe over 2 years, that they think it was a rocket that you all jumped on Caitlin Clark's back and went straight up, but you've been there at the beginning of the ride, so to speak. Geno couldn't resist tossing Paige Buers into the conversation either. According to Geno, Clark and Buers are similar in toughness. Translation: let's not forget my star player. While we talk about the one who didn't pick me, subtle as a neon sign, Geno's biggest mistake was underestimating Clark's value. Clark, however, is a different breed. She's fearless. Auriemma emphasized likening her approach to a kid shooting hoops in the driveway, playing purely for the love of the game. She doesn't overthink, doesn't let fear of failure creep in. She just plays. That's a quality Auriemma feels is increasingly rare in modern basketball. And then we send them up to the WNBA, and then they have something good to work with, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing. So it still comes back to those of us that are in charge of the game. Are we making the game better every day? Are we making our players better every day? To top it off, Geno downplayed Clark's role in the sport's growth. Sure, he gave a nod to her influence, but framed it as part of a larger inevitable evolution, because heaven forbid he admit that Clark's rise is the reason women's basketball is exploding right now. When asked about Caitlin Clark's mind-blowing performances, Geno Auriemma approached the question with a
we send them up to the WNBA, and then they have something good to work with, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing. So it still comes back to those of us that are in charge of the game. Are we making the game?
Mix of admiration and realism. Yeah, she's doing incredible things, he admitted, but let's not forget I've seen this kind of greatness before. Auriemma referenced a moment from his own coaching history to make his point. He recounted leading a team that featured 2 freshmen and 2 players who had never started a game before. That squad didn't just compete, they won a national championship. It wasn't a single player show, but the contributions and poise of those players were groundbreaking in their own way. Geno Auriemma could be the reason why Caitlin Clark is definitely not joining the Unrivaled 303 Basketball League. We have outpack it all right here. Geno Auriemma, master coach, part-time businessman, and full-time expert at putting his foot in his mouth. Turns out Caitlin Clark wants absolutely nothing to do with his new Unrivaled 303 Basketball League, and Geno might have only himself to blame. First, let's Remember that this league was supposed to be a groundbreaking venture, big investors, big ambitions, and an even bigger January launch. Everyone was talking about it mostly because fans to see Caitlin Clark, the college sensation, gracing its courts. But no, Clark's not interested. She's skipping this train entirely, leaving Geno and the league scrambling for star power. Just chill, man. But that is not the case. Many people want Kay Clark to join this league to possibly, play basketball, be more entertainment for her. But now many Kane Clark fans took to Twitter to actually poke fun, and let's pull up some of the tweets now. Why would Clark turn down such an amazing opportunity? Let's rewind to Geno's greatest PR moment on the Dan Patrick Show. Auriemma, in all his wisdom, called Clark's fan base delusional for daring to suggest she could dominate the WNBA. He doubled down, claiming she lacked the physicality to thrive in the league. If that wasn't enough, he tossed in some digs about how stupid these fans were for hyping her as the next Diana. Terror-side genius strategy. Geno insult the biggest draw in women's basketball and her die-hard supporters. She doesn't need to play for that whack job. She should just buy a rival league. Exactly, Kayla, get that type of bag. See, she probably isn't this vindictive, but if it was me and they wanted me outside, I'll demand a full retraction and apology from GTO for his comments on the D. Patrick Show. Twitter is a war zone of sarcasm and mock. Why would Caitlin play for someone who doesn't think she can handle contact? One fan asked, another chimed in with she should just buy the league and rename it Unrivaled. Genius. Ouch. It doesn't help that Geno isn't just some distant consultant in this league. He's a part owner, and his involvement is now seen as a giant red flag. Clark's decision to avoid this league isn't just about saving her knees. It's a direct middle finger to Geno's commentary. She doesn't need his league, and she sure doesn't need to deal with the backlash of aligning with someone who downplayed her talent on a national stage. Meanwhile, the league is gearing up for a splashy launch in January, but without Clark it's shaping up to be more of a belly flop. Geno probably thought he was untouchable, but now his words are coming back to haunt him in the form of empty seats and dwindling buzz. For a guy who's so proud of his decades-long career, it's impressive how quickly he managed to tank his own credibility with just a few ill-timed comments. Remember when Geno took the stage on the Dan Patrick Show and went full scorched earth on Clark's fan base? He called them delusional and stupid for daring to suggest she could dominate in the WNBA. Oh, and he didn't stop there. Geno decided to sprinkle in some expert analysis, claiming Clark didn't have the build for the league and would struggle with its physical demands. Sure, Geno, because insulting the most marketable star in women's basketball is a brilliant business move. Kayla has better things to do. Why does he want a player he doesn't think has the physicality to make matters worse? Geno's own words are being thrown back at him. He said Paige Bueller, another rising star, would face similar challenges in the WNBA, but noted her game might translate better. Less Caitlin, more Sube. But let's be real, this isn't about skill sets or physicality. It's about Geno shooting himself in the foot twice and then wondering why no one wants to play ball with him. Meanwhile, the Unrivaled League is set to launch in January, and without Clark it's looking more like unremarkable. Sure, they've got some big names, Angel Reese, for example, but let's not pretend she alone can carry the league. Fans wanted Caitlin, investors wanted Caitlin, and now without her the league's future looks as sturdy as a house of cards in a windstorm. And you're a great college player like Caitlin was a delusional fan base that follows her disrespected the WNBA players by saying she's going to go in that league and tear it apart. There were actually odds on what are like she's third or fourth in betting odds on being MVP at a WNBA. Geno Auriemma isn't having a good time lately. Caitlin Clark, the golden child of college basketball, apparently rejected his vision, or his entire league, depending on who you ask. Geno's frustration, it's not just about basketball, it's about the millions he could have made if Clark had lived up to the outrageous hype surrounding her. Clark entered the WNBA with fans declaring her the league's savior before she even dribbled on a pro court. Betting odds they had her as a potential MVP. Geno, of course, saw this as a golden opportunity, a new face for the league, endless endorsements, and let's face it, a huge boost to his own brand. But reality had other plans. How do you think Clark is handling this? I think she's handling great. I think she talks a lot of and she gets a lot of back, so she deserves everything she gets because she gives it as good as she gets it. Now Geno's out here venting about delusional fans hyping Clark to impossible